All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Thank whoever sent you here. They did you a great they gave you a great blessing sending you here. To my regular listeners, you already know how I get down. Shout out to Pod Match again for bringing my show, kind of reviving the guest element to my show. The show started as me kind of doing solo episodes. I did a lot of guests, and then it got to be too much trying to keep up with guests, but then Pod Match made it so I can, bring all of that back. So now I feel like the show is at its peak performance, baby, peak performance. So with all that, I have a guy that does something that's really, really interesting. I can't wait to dive deeper into his story. Mr. Paul Gowder, welcome to the Move Swiftly podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and like I said, it's a very interesting story in it that you were in college and you were doing something that you didn't necessarily want to get paid for, like doing research on Native Americans, and then also, you had some time to play with websites and search engines, things like that.
Yeah.
I was listening to you before, and it was very interesting in terms of how you were able to take that, because when we're in college, we do a lot of shit. We create this and stuff happens, but very few people can look up 30 years later and say, look, this is my business, this is how I eat, and this is how I made it successful. So I kind of give you the mic for a second and just talk about your background, go back to those days a little bit, and kind of speak to how all of this came about, because
Right.
it is a really good story, a really good story.
Thanks. Yeah. I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. This wasn't
That's a
something
new
I
one.
intended, you
Accident.
know? Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to be a business owner or an entrepreneur or anything. I was going to school to have a career, and
Yeah.
actually ended up, I did work 25 plus years in state government. So I did have that career, but
Right.
that's what I was in school for, right? I was learning about that. And in free time, I was just playing with this whole internet thing. I'd always, played around with computers or whatever um, for years. And this was just another outlet of something to experiment with. And when I was building web pages, I built them about things I knew. One that's still out there in its 1996 format was all about vintage Star Wars toy collecting.
Mm-hmm.
That one is still out there because in 1996 Disney didn't own Star Wars and there wasn't a whole lot of Star Wars going on, but it was just a few little people like me collecting the toys from our childhood. So that one's still out there. But the other one is, at the time I was learning about powwows myself. I had some friends that were taking me to powwows, teaching me about the regalia, the songs, and the customs and all that stuff. And so I just started sharing what I was learning and just started putting that out there, not thinking anything would happen. And from the beginning, people liked what I was sharing, and they wanted to connect with each other. And so, I just started adding things and ways for people to connect with, in the early days, it was forum software, vBullet, things like that. And it just grew from there.
Yeah, so just so we're clear, powwows and what you do with powwows, it's not just something that's online. I was listening to you on previous shows.
Right.
It's actually things that bring the community together. Sometimes they get hired by certain schools.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they do things that just teaches the culture. Now, my family's from Trinidad and Tobago, and we have big carnival fests every year in different states. So I was watching, I know the feeling of just having your family in certain places. So how did it get to the point where, I guess it was already existing, but I guess you used it. Can you kind of explain how you were able to use the internet to bring people together?
Yeah.
Because that's probably the biggest gripe a lot of people have with the internet is people are separated. Actually, I just did an interview before you on, and we were talking about how these things keep us separated when they should actually be bringing people together to meet face to face and have dialogue. So,
Yeah. It's and that's that's the thing we like about the internet, right? Is the connections. It can get toxic, but powwows have been around for hundreds of years. There are some powwows out there, celebrating 200 years of hosting a powwow.
mhm.
And so when people saw me building these web pages, they wanted to have that same community feeling that they did at powwows. They wanted to have that online, and they wanted to, it started kind of mostly people in the Southeast because that's where the powwows I was going to. And so people I was talking to at powwows were like, oh, okay, cool. Let's stay connected. So we built these forums. And so that group of people started talking, but then it just grew to other parts of the country. And people found out that, you know, there's somebody in North Carolina that, dances the same way that, or the same style that somebody in Arizona does. And so they started sharing and talking about things. And so that's what it was. If people just wanted to have that same community feeling that they did at actual powwows, they wanted to have it online. And we kind of bridged that gap. And that was the early days. That we were, for years, all we were is a forum site and just a way for people to talk. And we had chat rooms, and our forum is still out there and people still use it. Most of that's been replaced by Facebook groups and stuff like that. But that was the early days. It was just a way for people to communicate and share.
All right, so you have powwows, you have that going, it's growing, and like I said, I was listening to you earlier. I know you had to kind of hire out and get a staff and get people to run it for you. When did you transition into business coaching and get into the stuff you're doing now and serving clients? Because that was the real thing that made me say, man, I got to get this guy in the show because I'm trying to figure out how you go from hosting powwows and being successful at it, but then now you're business coaching and then you're doing some things that I guess help small business owners and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that was not something I ever saw myself doing.
Mhm.
A friend of mine who at the time was really, he was being my mentor, business coach himself. He kept saying, Paul, you have some stuff you need that people need to hear. So I spoke at a conference that he hosted. Um, and then from there, he was like, dude, you have to start. You have so much to share. You've got, and so he was the one, was Lou Mangello. He's the one kind of pushed me to start venturing into that role. And especially with helping people build community online and using whatever the tools you're using to build that community, and really have that community sense around your business. And then also, using email to level up your business and push things forward. So that's kind of the two areas I focus on right now. And yeah, it was through somebody else pushing me to do that and telling me that I had something valuable to say. Um, the uh, um, now I'm blanking on the term. Uh, I always doubted myself. Imposter syndrome. That's what I was trying to think of. That kept me from doing it for a long time. And still, still sometimes I'm like, do I really know what I'm talking about? But it's been fun, and being able to like at a conference or whatever, and you're able to, after you talk and like sit down with people at a table and really dig into their issues or something like that, and you see light bulbs go on, and they're like, oh, I can do this. And that kind of, I love doing that stuff. And I love, just showing people simple things that they can do to really make a big difference. So that's been really exciting for me.
Yeah, and I'm one of the ones that has consistently used the term, especially on this show, that the audience decides. The audience decides. The audience decides. However, it can be misconstrued because people think what's on their social media, the followers they have, the likes they have, and all the stuff that I call them freeloaders, all the stuff that the freeloaders give them on social media, they think that's an audience. Technically, it
Right.
is, but I'm talking about a paying audience, right? And what would you, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because you mentioned something that I agree with in terms of building your email list. All right, everything that we see online, guys, and I want to make sure I'm going to make sure I'm slowing down so you guys hear me clearly. Everything we see online is simply an extension of the email. I know there's a lot of fancy websites. I know there's a lot of different things, and you got your logo, you got your photo shoot, you looking good on your website. I get it, but everything is actually an extension of an email, just an electronic way to send a message. That's all you're actually doing. It can be distracting. So what do you see as you're coaching with your clients or as you're working in that space now as the common denominator that's a problem that people are just not understanding and you have to keep fixing that issue? What would you say, especially for people listening in that may think they're progressing in their business? How would you help them?
There's a couple of things I've seen with
Yeah.
email.
And by the way,
One,
we have tons of time, so take.
okay. I mean, the first thing is people are ignoring it.
Mhm.
I think still to a lot of people, it is just something that they don't concentrate on. It's when you post something on social media, you get that instant feedback and you get the likes and you get the comments right then.
Mhm.
Email may be a little more delayed in gratification or whatever. So a lot of people have been sleeping on it.
Mhm.
And I've got one lady I'm helping, and she's been paying for MailChimp for 2 years, but never did anything. Right. And people know that they should be doing it, but they just keep ignoring it. So that's the first thing I see. The other thing I see a lot is, and I did this too for a long time, is that people think email is a Sunday morning sales paper is just a big flashy thing where you can just shout at people, right? You
Mhm.
know, build fancy graphics and put all this stuff in there and just throw things at people and they're going to click it. That's not the best way to use email. You know, this was probably 6, 7 years ago. I switched all of my stuff from being the fancy template to just text based with a few pictures.
Right.
And I talk very directly in my email. That's something that a lot of people have not figured out is that email can be community. You can talk to your audience directly and they'll respond to you. It's not a Facebook group. It's not, many to many relationship, but it's a
Mhm.
one to many relationship. And then when they reply, it's a one to one, which is the best way to build community, right? It's these
Right.
one-on-one conversations. So that's something when I'm working with clients, it's like, okay, yes, we can build an email where you're going to put, here are all my new recipes that I posted this week. Fine. But at the top of those emails, let's talk to your audience. Be personal. Tell them what's going on in your life. You
Mhm.
know, share those kind of things, and you're going to become relatable. People are going to want to read it, and it's so exciting. I have one, and sequences are a big thing for me too. But I have one email sequence: what to expect at your first powwow. And the first email says, there's so many things at a powwow that you might be excited for. Tell me what it is that you want to see. What is it you're most excited about? And every week I'm getting, tons of email back from that one email sequence. And it's so great to hear those people, and then you're able to have conversations with them. They're a little hesitant, anxious about going to it. They've never been to one. And so then you can really start having these conversations and it builds that community. That's I wish more people would do that. It's such a big bonus of email is you actually talk to people. And then again, going back to the Facebook and social media,
Right.
yes, you can post on social media and you get those instant feedbacks, but like on my Facebook page, I have 1 million followers.
Mhm.
When I post something on social media, 1 million people don't see it, right?
Right.
I'm lucky if 1,000 people see it.
Right.
When I send an email, everybody on my list is going to get it in their inbox. They may not open it, but it's there, and I know that they got it.
So what would you tell someone that is understanding what you're saying, but they need, like you just mentioned, putting a recipe out that may seem proprietary. They
Right.
put certain information out in an email. How would you tell them to filter out their list from the start? Because sometimes that can be scary. Even posting on social media, hey, this could be something that's taken away. There's proprietary issues and things like that. What would you say is a way of filtering out who's on your email list or not?
Yeah, I like to tell people, wherever you are in your email journey, the place I want to start is figuring out who your audience is, what kind of different segments of your audience you have,
Hmm.
and let's build sequences or series of emails for each of those people. Let's not worry about what we're going to send to our entire list and these broadcast messages every week.
Yeah.
Those we can take care of later. Let's figure out what groups of people you have, what information they're looking for, and let's build some automated systems to deliver that content. So, for example,
Mhm.
I worked with some travel agents, and so if a travel agent, they're going to have people that are looking for cruise information. They're going to have people that are looking for Disney World
Very
information,
true.
right? Okay, so let's take and build a 5 or 6 email sequence that's all about cruises.
Mhm.
Here's what to pack, here's what to not pack, here's what to expect at check-in. Here's your embarkation, debarkation information. Here are my tips to get the most out of your cruise vacation. That's a great email series. And everybody who comes into your sphere looking for a cruise vacation are going to get those same 5 or 6 emails. It's a great way to onboard people into your community,
Mhm.
give them all that information, and then we can put them in a some kind of broadcast cadence of weekly emails or whatever.
Mhm.
But if they're looking for cruise information, let's give them that information in a series of emails, and it's so effective. That's
Yeah.
where people should start.
Yeah, man, you just made because I every usually on my birthday I go on a cruise, and my birthday's in January, and I just went on a cruise like 6 months ago now from this recording, and I
Nice.
met an actual travel agent, and
Yeah.
she was there because she just wanted to experience it, so then she can go back and tell her audience, this is everything that went down. This was
Right.
my time on Virgin Voyage. And it kind of goes back to what we started this conversation about is making sure you're personable and you're actually going out and doing the business as opposed to thinking that you're just posting something on social media and all of a sudden you're moving the needle. You're not moving the needle unless you're actually experiencing the thing that you're actually selling. All right.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to experience it when
Right.
you sell it. I cannot stress the importance of that. So with all that, I was actually, as you were talking, I looked at your website. There's also a term that you have. It's free giveaways. Now, this is something is I'm kind of asking from a personal perspective because I have a ton of products out there. There's people who, are willing to give away their stuff for free. They want it
Yeah.
so want people to have it so bad. What are just give me I guess give me your philosophy, your do's and don'ts on free giveaways, how we should be giving away free giveaway. Like what's your philosophy on all that?
So I run a giveaway on powwows.com every month. Some of them last more than a month, but there's always a giveaway going on. So the first thing is you got to find prizes and work with companies send me this, right? Find prizes that resonate with your audience, not just, and so this is this month's giveaway. It's a Pendleton blanket or Pendleton blanket pillow. Um, don't try to give away iPads or gift cards or whatever, because you're just going to attract everybody. Find a prize that's going to resonate with your audience specifically. So again, let's go back to travel agents. If you're working with Disney World, maybe you're going to give away like a magic band or something like that, right? Something that just your audience is going to do. And so I love it. I use a couple of different software programs, Viral Sweep, Gleam. And so the first thing is they have to join your email list to enter the giveaway. That's the way I always set mine up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you can give them all kinds of other tasks to complete to earn more entries. So for me, that's another way that I'm able to build traffic to the website, because in my giveaway, I'm like, oh, I want you to visit this page and this page and this page, maybe go watch this video. And so they have to complete all these tasks and they keep earning entries. It
Right.
works so well. My giveaways are great for building the list, but also keeping my list engaged. It's
Right.
works so
And
well.
I think you said the right word there is what does your audience want? All right. What specifically does your audience want? Don't try to force feed them a product. And this is something I've struggled with in the past as well. Don't try to force feed them a product that they're not expressing that they want.
Right.
Really ask them what it is they want and then go out and create it. Go out and create. Actually, the YouTube video I do a YouTube video every morning, and it was talking about how we're recording this about 2 days after the Boston Celtics won the NBA Finals, and you saw that Jason Tatum had the little Jordan goggles because he's a Jordan player. And I was saying, look, there's a product right there that very few, I don't even think it's on the market, but because Jason Tatum's a Jordan guy, he obviously got that. So, Paul, I do want to be very respectful of your time. I appreciate you coming on. Who
Yeah.
would well, before we let you go though, who would be like an ideal client for you? Who would be the people that ideally you would love to work with? You can kind of put that information out there now.
Right now, most of the people I'm working with are solo entrepreneurs, or small, small publishing people that are bloggers, vloggers, podcasters, and people that are feeling stuck with their email. Whether you've been doing it for a while and not seeing results, or you're just sitting on it and don't know how to get started, those are the folks I'm helping right now a lot. And so I'm hoping, I'd love to help other people do that. It's
Right.
such an important thing. With all the changes with Google and Facebook and all the algorithms, email is a constant thing. It's always there, and so we gotta spend more time on it.
Yes. Now, are they coming to you with an audience already built, or if someone's coming to you and say, "Look, I'm just getting started, I got to leave my job," how do you help them when it comes to actually building the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I get people in all stages.
Mhm.
Right now, most of the clients I'm working with have an audience, and we're trying to figure out ways to use email to build back some of the loss that they've seen on Google. But
Right.
yeah, if you're in the early stages, I can help you figure out ways to really start growing your list from the beginning, getting those first 100 subscribers, and then delivering that content to them.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. And what's next for the company? What can you just kind of tell people what's next? Any like events
Yeah.
plan, anything moving forward? Go ahead.
Oh, there's so much.
Like I
Right now,
said, we have tons of time, so you're all
yeah.
good.
So if you want to find out more about some of the stuff I'm doing, paulgowder.com/email tools. I did a video on some of the tools I use to grow my email list. Right now I'm working on 2 courses that are going to be about building these sequences that I was just talking about, these email series. I'm going to have one on how to build your first welcome sequence, and then one on building sequences designed for these segments, content specific kind of series of emails. So gonna be 2 little mini courses. Hoping to have those out here in the next few weeks. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. But also have a mastermind group with a friend of mine. We're taking people kind of doing some group coaching,
Right.
and yes, it's been really fun. Again, I love seeing light bulbs go on and helping people figure out how to connect all these dots with the software and make it really work.
Right now, and also how do people like get a powwow if they want to get a powwow in their community? Is there a way of reaching out to you as well?
Yeah,
Or
so we have a calendar of events on powwows.com, powwows.com/calendar. And that'll show you all the events that are going on. We list about 1,000 powwows a year. They
whoa,
happen all there. We have them in all 50 states and all over Canada.
right,
So there's at one point I did a map and kind of showed like if you're in the US, there is one within 50 miles of you, pretty much wherever you live. So
Mhm.
just go check out our calendar. There's one happening near you somewhere.
Yeah,
So go visit it. And uh, it's a it's a full cultural immersion. It is a great thing. Powwows are open to the public. They
yeah,
welcome visitors. I've got some stuff again on the website of what to expect at your first powwow and how to be respectful and go,
yeah.
with an open mind and figure out, I can kind of show you that stuff. But yeah, they're open to the public. They want you to come. You're going to see lots of singing and dancing. There's food and there's crafts. It's an unbelievable experience if you've never been to one.
Yes, no, I mean now you got me. As soon as we get off this, I'm gonna be looking up to see where we're at in Florida. So check one out for sure. All right, Paul. So the way I close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You're in college. You're playing around with this internet thing. You're trying to get back to your community a little bit, but then you took a government job. Your younger self just clicked into the Zoom room. Just give that young man some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
The encouragement would have been that you just have to keep persevering, keep moving forward, or just keep swimming, as Nemo says,
Right.
or Dory says in Nemo.
Yes.
I for a long time it was a goal. It's like, one day maybe if I win the lottery, I can go full time with this thing. I never thought it could be a full time job. I just always thought it would be a side hustle. Um, for me, it took 25 years to get there. For others, it doesn't take as long. So I definitely tell my younger self is like, just keep plugging. There's going to be dark times, there's going to be slow times, there's whatever, but just keep going, knowing that at the end there's a good thing going to happen. So you just have to keep pushing.
Yes, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. All right. It's been a pleasure, man. It actually has been an absolute pleasure. All right. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.